Completely, yeah. So it's not chopped, it's not in water, like, you know, standard chopped tomatoes. I just think are awful. I really do. You need to reduce them so heavily. You need to add, you know, so much tomato puree, which is bitter in itself, to give them a little bit of body. But these ones here are, you know, in essence, pulpa that are completely mulched down, and it's just a lovely thick sauce. Incredibly good. But I've just got some Valfrutta tomatoes that are organic pelati tomatoes from Costco, you know, that are fantastic. So into there now, I'm going to add some ballotti beans. I love ballotti beans. Ballotti beans are, God, I throw them into everything, but in here they work very well. However, you can add a combination of chickpeas, you know, cannellini beans, if you like butter beans. You know, they add such a great amount of flavour.
And are they tinned?
Tinned. I'm all about the tins. I've got all of my my dry pulses and what have you. But tinned lentils, you know, all the tinned pulses, I think are fantastic. I think they're fantastic. And if anything, you know, during lockdown, everyone was going frantic for buying all their product. You know, the tinned pulses, you know, beans, lentils, I think they're fantastic. I really do. Okay, so into there now, I'm just going to add some rosemary, Parmesan rind, which actually this is a grana rind. I'm going to pop that in there, and then some salt and pepper. So we've got pancetta, we've got lard. We want to go a little bit light with the salt. We don't want too much, because then obviously I'm going to salt the water really, really well. A little bit of pepper. Okay, and then obviously you can add, you know, you could have added some fresh chopped chilli and what have you. I absolutely love dry chilli. So I'm going to add a sprinkle of dry chilli. And one of my other things that I always get called on in my cooking is dried oregano. And this is a jar, this is from my mum's farm. They grow it, dry it, and she machinaos it all up for me, and then I go and collect it. Oregano and marjoram for me is the taste of the south, but I tend to add it into everything. I love the flavour, I really do. So that there on its own now. Increase the heat slightly, that can cook away. There we go. Okay. So this is our bean ragu. So this could go with anything: a pasta secca, a dried pasta from the cupboard. You know, this will go with a lovely penne if you wanted to. You can completely bulk it up by adding, you know, more vegetables to it, obviously. However, this is going to go with our pasta. So our pasta today is a combination of doppio zero, so your double zero flour, and breadcrumbs. Okay, so breadcrumbs that are slightly stale. So here's our breadcrumbs. Okay, and here's our doppio zero. Okay, so the way that we do this is we're going to add to my wooden board, so you can see everything. Okay, so there's my double zero, and here are my breadcrumbs. Okay, so this is just bread, literally that's been blitzed. Okay, it's no fancy bread, it's no sourdough bread, it's just basic bread. Okay, so we're literally going to combine these together.
Is that what you need as standard bread, or could you use basically whatever you've got? Is it quite flexible, or do you like the softness of a basic bread?
No, if you've got sourdough, use sourdough. If you've got anything, you know, if you've got baguette that's gone slightly stale, blitz it. You know, and use that. You can use absolutely everything, anything. The other day we were making polenta with my daughter, and I showed her we didn't have quite enough bread for her to follow this particular recipe, but we have some pita breads. And I said, Natalia, just break those down and use those. And she was like, I can't believe that. So she can do the same with anything. You've got wraps, you know, anything like that. There's you know, cucina povera cooking, which is how we cook in the south of Italy. There's no waste. You know, you'll use absolutely everything and anything. But equally, you know, sourdough would be, you know, delicious. Okay, so here's our mix. So no salt will go into the pasta. Okay, so now none of my pastas are salted. Okay, because we don't need to salt them. We salt, you know, our sauces really well. We salt our water incredibly well. Here, it just doesn't need it. However, if you want to, you absolutely can. Okay, so this is 400 grams of doppio zero. Okay, so it's our 00 flour, about 150 of our breadcrumbs, and then kind of tepid water, so not so cold from the tap and not hot from the kettle. You want a nice tepid water to bring it all together. And I prefer to work with my hands on a wooden board. Just like so. Nice and slowly. Equally though, you can do this in a food processor if you prefer, you know, and just gradually go in with you're looking for half liquid approximately to your dried ingredients.
So you're simply trying to work the liquid into the flour gradually at the stage.
Yeah, now my liquid today is water. However, if I was using chickpeas, I'd use the acqua fava. You know, if I was making pizza, or if I'd made pizza, I would have reserved my mozzarella water. So that will go in. And I also use, you know, water from when you've cooked pasta. So the water that you use to boil your pasta, or water that you've used to boil potatoes, I tend to keep that as well. You know, even rice water. You know, there's flavour, there's starch.
Does that water have a name, the pasta cooking water in Italian? Because it's often used, added into the sauce at the end, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you've heard of the, you know, mantecare. When you make a risotto, you add your cheese, your butter, and then you allow it to rest. And the way that you stir, the way that you kind of tend to a risotto, you know, everyone says, oh, you know, you must look after your risotto, you must allow it to rest. It's exactly the same with pasta. You know, when you come to cook it, it's vital, as I know, you know, as I know that you know as well, you know, that you make your pasta, you know, you allow it to rest. I don't allow my pasta to go into the fridge unless I'm making something that requires. So if I'm making a sweet pasta, like chiacchiere, like festival biscuits, and if there's an element of butter in my dough, that will go into the fridge. If I'm making a sfoglia, a pasta dough to make the rotolando, like the filled pasta that you make into a sausage, then steam, and then oven roast, things like that. But generally, there's no need for pasta to go into the fridge. Obviously, everyone's different. But I was always taught to never put the pasta into the fridge, because obviously as soon as you add it into the fridge, it tightens completely, and the whole point is that we then need to, you know, start relaxing it and stretching the pasta. You know, it doesn't need long at all to use that.
Carmela, just a couple of points from the chat. So we've got some love for muti tomatoes, and Nico uses a brand called Coppola. He buys from Amazon. Recommending that. Coppola. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Coppola, I don't know if I've heard of Coppola.
Apparently he gets them from Amazon.
Okay.
And Nico is also asking about your lovely pasta board. Did you make it?
No, I didn't.
Where did you buy it from?
No.
Tell us about it.
No, do you know, this is highly recommended. This is from Amazon, so you're already buying from Amazon. So from Amazon online, I think it's about £25, and it comes directly from Italy. And it's fantastic. The only thing with it is I've got quite a few boards. But when I'm making it with a rolling pin, I've got some really long rolling pins, and obviously having the edges on, you know, stops me from using certain rolling pins. But it's very, very good. I use my scraper on it. I make bread on it. It's brilliant. It's a brilliant. So yeah, very much, very recommended.
Does it have a name?
Tomban. I don't know. I can find out and let you know. We call it a tombagno where we're from, but on Amazon, I'll find out what it's called. If you just put on Amazon a wooden pasta board, it will come up. So, yeah, very, very good.
So you mentioned the name of the pasta board from the region your family come from. Can you tell us a bit about your Italian family?
Yes, so my parents came over when they were in their teens. My dad is from Puglia, Foggia, a place called Castelluccio Valmaggiore. So Bari's in the middle of Puglia. We're from the north of Bari. And my mum is from Molise, which is a region just above Puglia. Quite an undiscovered region, not a lot of work there. It's quite mountainous actually. So the food, well, I'll tell you, so we moved to Bedford, they came over in the early 60s with all my parents' family. And then my parents married, and then literally all of my mum's side moved back to Molise in Italy. So they're all still there, as are quite a bit of my dad's family. Yeah, so they kind of set up home in Bedford, and then we moved to a farm north of Bedford in a village called Yeldon, and that's where I grew up. But in terms of you know, everyone wants to know why do I do what I do? Well, you know, I was brought up as an Italian girl, even though I was born here. You know, I went to a school that was run by nuns. You know, I only ever ate Italian food. To this day, I've still never had toad in the hole. You know, it's really funny. My family weren't strict, but we were incredibly Italian and incredibly proud to be Italian, and I'm very much like that now. So I want to learn. I'm still learning so much. There's so much to learn. You know, I'm so lucky to have been taught by my nonna, who is 91 in August. She taught me how to make pasta. And actually, my new cookbook is dedicated to her. I'm her oldest granddaughter, so it means the world to me. You know, to have family that have got that, you know, that massive, strong, you know, strong connection, as it were. And I was obviously taught by my mum as well. So that's the dough. Okay, so this is a very heavy dough because obviously of the content of the bread that's gone into it. But it's beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. Okay, so I'm going to give this a little stir. Like
Can
so.
I just ask, Carmela, how long you would need the pasta for? Is there anything you want to be looking for? Or are you just trying to get a nice smooth texture?
Normally, if I was making an egg dough, if I was making a semola and water dough, so semola di grano duro. Where's my flour? Here it is. So the semola, I never call it semolina flour because you tend to find people will go out and buy semolina and it's completely different. This is a finer grain. The semola and water is from the south of Italy. Okay, this will take less to work. This will probably take, you know, 5-6 minutes. An egg-based dough takes a lot longer. You know, possibly 8 to 10 minutes, depending on the quantity that you make. You'll feel, you know, you'll know when it's soft enough. Generally, it comes back, you know, when you push it. There's an element of give, but now that feels really, really nice. Literally, all you need to do is pop a bowl over it, like so. You know, wrap it in, you know, some like wax sheets if you want to use cling film, greaseproof, a clean tea towel, anything like that. Leave it to sit at room temperature. Okay, I'm not going to bother with the room temperature resting today. I'm going to get on with it, but I'm just going to clean my board. So if Nico's still there, literally a scraper. Okay, I'm just going to take all this off.
Christine's husband is a cabinet maker apparently and made her a lovely maple board. Lucky Christine.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, my dad retired 3 years ago. My dad was a carpenter and joiner. And he made my mum the most incredible board. And I keep borrowing it. I have to keep giving it back. She's on me immediately when I finish with it. Have the board back, Melly. I'm like, yes, Mum. So here we go.
Well, I think Nico's doing a bit of online shopping as we. It's at £27.
So well.
He's just found the board.
So let's have a look. Sounds beautiful. That tastes incredible. Okay, pop that there. Okay, so our sauce is cooking. I've got a nice big pan of water on here, okay, that I pre-boiled just before. So I'm going to pop it on now. Okay, so pasta water. There's lots of things that you can do with pasta water, and pasta water is as important as the pasta and as important as the sauce. Okay, so the pasta water, 100 grams of pasta, you want a litre of water. Okay, and to that you want about 7 to 10 grams of salt. You know, and you tend to find people kind of go, oh my god, you know, so much salt. You don't have to, you know, obviously have loads and loads of salt, but I use Maldon salt, I use, you know, decent salt, and I put a good handful for them, okay? And then what I tend to do is dip my finger in, okay, have a taste, and as long as I can taste the salt, okay, then I'm happy, okay? They say as salty as the Mediterranean, but obviously within reason, okay? The pasta will absorb as much salt as it needs, okay? So it's really important that you salt the water. It's like if you make rice, you know, if you cook rice or you cook potatoes and you don't salt them, you know, add salt to the water. It's, you know, and vegetables as well, you know, I tend to stop if I'm cooking some vegetables or what have you. The other thing that you can do as well, and this is all in this book that comes out, which is this one. So Northern and Central Italian Family Cooking. Okay, and it tells you in here that when you make fresh pasta, okay, you know, I don't know if any of you know, but I am a pastaia, so I specialise in pasta. Okay, so fresh pasta generally will take, depending on what you make and the flour that you use, the liquid that you use, you know, in terms of how long it takes to cook. So semola will take longer to cook because it's a hard wheat flour. Okay, doppio zero and egg will be a lot quicker. So when you want to use the water to emulsify your sauces, okay, a good trick for you all to do is to take some semola and add that to your flour, add that to your pasta water, okay? Because as you're making your pasta now, the gluten is going to be released into the water and it's going to start doing what it needs to do, okay? Because my pizzadea will go in there for 2 minutes, okay? But I'm going to want some of that water to emulsify and finish my sauce. So at least now with the semola, we're going to be able to do that, okay? So the temperature of the water will increase and then I'm going to salt it. I'm going to salt it now because I will forget, okay? So a nice amount of salt goes in, okay? That's going to come up to the boil and we're going to cook our pasta. Now the other thing that we can do here as well is you can add more flavour, you know, so if you've got some, you know, wilted celery stalks in the bottom of the fridge, throw them in. If you've got some tomato vines, put them in. Anything like that now can go in here. You know, then we drain it and it's not a problem, but that's just adding, you know, everything that is cucina povera. So from the south of Italy, you know, I use all sorts. You know, some of the things that I cook, my husband sits at the table and I've got 4 children and husband, and he goes, "What am I eating tonight, darling?" Bless him. He eats some crazy concoctions, but you know, there's no waste. Okay, so that's going to come up to boil. This is just delicious. And if I'm honest with you, Charlotte, this was some bread. You know, a nice rustic 3 years of bread would be wonderful. So here I'm just going to take a section of our pasta. Okay, so you can see that. But some beautiful bubbles, you know, kind of all the way along there. So the density of this dough is completely different because we've added in some bread. Okay, so pizzadea fasto. What's beautiful about this is the fable story that goes with it. Okay, so years ago in Piacenza, in Emilia Romagna, they would say that if a man fell in love with a girl, a young woman, okay, his mother would have to check her thumb to see if she had callus marks on her thumb. If she did, then she'd be accepted into the family because it means that she can make pizzadea fasto. And it's kind of one of those things that now people would go, oh, you know, but I kind of love it. I love that whole story, that whole whimsical kind of, you know, I don't know, idea of, I suppose, tending as they did back in those days, you know, a little bit more to their beloved, as it was.
Carmela, how did you manage writing this book and your research? How did you manage it? Was it all done before lockdown? Were you able to visit the region much?
Yeah, this book was done. This book's been written for about, I don't know, 6-7 months. This has been finished, and then obviously we were just waiting for, for the release. So yeah, I travelled a lot last year and the year before, and obviously this is my 4th book, and now I've started on number 5 that comes out in May next year. So here, just to show you them, so I've rolled a sausage. Okay, so a sausage, the depth of my finger. Okay, I kind of say the depth of like a Sharpie, that kind of thickness, and then we cut them into small nuggets. Okay. Now, if you need to flour your surface, it's always best, and it doesn't matter what pasta you're making, to use semola, okay? Because what semola does is it doesn't cling to the pasta, it doesn't add density, okay? So it will tend to fall off when cooking, okay? 00 will add heaviness to the pasta, so it's always best, if you're a bit sticky, to use some semola, okay? And you can get semola obviously online. There's some really good online delis, but obviously if you're London based, there's some incredible delis in London. And I'm in Northampton, that's where I live. And we've got a really super deli here, so I'm very lucky actually. Okay, so hopefully you'll be able to see what I'm about to do. So here are my little nuggets, and then I use my thumb, okay, and I literally push down. So it's as if you're making a cavatelli or a gnocchetti sardi, but you're not using a knife, and we're not using any ridged boards, okay. So we're looking for kind of a baby shell, okay, a shell that's dragged in the middle, which means that it's rigata, okay, because there's a drag, but it's smooth on the outside, okay. Now, the whole point of this dish is that the pasta should mimic the size of the ballotti bean. I'm going to turn that off so it's a bit not noisy. Okay, so as you're eating it, really you should be eating it with a spoon in a bowl, and you can just eat uno mano, just one hand, and you can eat away, not realising if you're eating, you're picking pasta or picking, a bean of fagioli, because they're kind of the same size. Okay, and this is so easy to do, if you've got a family, it's just brilliant. My youngest daughter, Chiara, normally sits down with me, and she'll do the rest of this dough later.
So the flour, the semola, how finely milled is it? We've got a question on the chat. Is it milled like the 2 examples were farola or rimacinata? Excuse my appalling Italian.
Yeah, so I use rimacinata. So rimacinata is my preference. I'll show you my brand as well. So if you remember, what semolina looks like. So you get a lot of people that will say they're using semolina flour, then go to a supermarket and buy semolina. So it's a very coarse, heavy grain, heavier than polenta, in terms of its size. So it's so important that when you use semola, you can see the difference. So let me find here in my stash. So this is one that I've got at the moment. Okay, so semola, rimacinata, granuro. There's loads of different types that you can obviously use. It'd be good for us to try and find a semola that was, milled in the UK, but I to this date haven't found any. Semola. So semola to this kind of consistency. We've got a good shop in Northampton called Daily Bread, where they sell, beans and pulses and dried fruits and what have you, and they sell semolina flour, but it just isn't it just isn't a semola. You know, it's incredibly coarse. So my mum popped in and she bought semola, this semolina flour, and she phoned me up and she was like, my pasta's not working, it won't form a dough, you know. And I think with that, if you've got one of those whizzy machines, you know, one of those, I don't know what they are, is it not a Vitamix?
Magimix.
Yeah, I don't know, but you can put your flour in and it will make it, you know, a lot finer. Can't remember the name of it. It's that white one that all the chefs tend to have, but you know,
Thermomix.
yes, you can add the flour into there, and it will obviously make it, you know, to a better consistency. And that's what she did.
Apparently, Bakery Bits might sell it, and Gilchester's may possibly mill it. So there's a couple of options to investigate.
Yeah, I don't think Bakery Bits do.
No.
If they do, it will be a Molino flour, which would be an Italian one, which is brilliant. Absolutely. Okay,
Carmela,
so
I'm sorry to interrupt. Judy's just asked if you could show us the pasta a little bit more closely so we can see the shapes. Could we just have a quick peek before it goes in the water, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
My hands look, if you can see. Is that any better? Can you see?
Beautiful.
I'll show you some more. I'll get these in, and then I'll show you some more. But on my Instagram, I've got loads of videos and lots of tutorials as well. You're literally using the side of your thumb. I'm going to give those a little stir. No oil. And I'm talking to cooks. But no oil in our water. The only time we add oil is if we're making a minestrone, a soup, a stock. In terms of pasta and Italian cooking, we don't need to add. This is one of my main things. So many students will always add, you know, oil, and we don't need to do that. It's all about the stirring. You know, give it a good stir, loosen it up, you know, and then you're absolutely fine. We don't need to add oil, okay? Because as everyone knows, you know, you add oil to water and it just splits, separates. There's no benefit there at all. Okay, so we go with a sausage. Okay, so we're going to go with kind of the thickness of a lady's finger. Okay, you can obviously, if you go slightly thinner, then they're going to be smaller, which is wonderful. Okay, so we're going to go to a sausage like so. I like to use, you know, kind of a dough cutter. I find these are brilliant for gnocchi, for cutting pasta, for portioning and everything like that. Okay. We then cut like 1 centimetre. Okay. We cut 1 centimetre little kind of little nuggets. It'd be kind of very, very tiny, tiny bits. Okay. I'm going to grab a board and come here, so hopefully you can see. Okay, so there's my board. There's one of my nuggets. Okay. Then you take the side of your thumb and we just push down, okay, so that we have, okay, the shell, and then in the middle we have a hole so that the sauce can get through it, okay. But pizzare fasto is about using, we don't want any ridges on the outside, okay. So it's very, very simple, and it's so forgiving. If you want to use a gnocchi board, you know, or you can see all my boards here, to make a shape, you absolutely can. Okay, so these now are plump and delicious. Forgive me, I'm going to go in. Perfect. Okay, so I'm just going to now increase my heat onto our beans. Okay, now you can see that the pizzare were in the water for, you know, 2 minutes. And they're completely swollen. Just like pillows, just incredible. Okay. Now, if I hadn't added the semola, they would have literally been in there for 2 minutes. Okay. So I'm going to scoop those out, like so. Okay. I'm going to give that a stir. And I'm actually going to take my Parmigiano rind out. Okay. And because that's not been in there very long, and I would only do this because it's my family and they accept what I'm like, I'll probably use that again tonight in another sauce. Okay, just because Why not, really? Okay. So I'm going to give that a stir. So then here, I'm going to add just a little bit of castor water. So. Give this a good stir. So, okay, I'm just going to take out my rosemary stalks. There we go. Just put this in my bowl. Beautiful. I'm going to take off the heat. Oh, I wish you could smell this. I really do.
I wish it were my lunch.
I know. I've got children upstairs that are hopefully a little bit thankful for this. A little bit of basil, obviously, just for a tiny bit of flavour. So you can use pecorino, you can use grana, you can use parmigiano. I don't know if any of you have ever had the ricotta salata, which is one of my absolute favourites. I just don't have any at the moment. And there we go. I'm going to come up to you. I'm going to unplug these. That's what a trip hazard. And here we go. So there's our bowl of pisarella fasso.
Beautiful.
Simple,
That looks
simple.
so good.
You know, and I don't know what time. I don't know what time it's, but I think I've just gone over slightly because I talk too much. But you can see the simplicity of, you know, something that's really, you know, that's something that's really quite wonderful.
That's amazing.
And, you know, and all from scratch in, you know, in not very long. But so this is one of the recipes that features in Northern and Central Italian family cooking, which is a mouthful to say the least. And it is released tomorrow. It's this kind of sums up my cooking. I've been cooking most of these recipes for the last couple of years because I run supper clubs, and it's so nice now to kind of have them written down, you know, altered, checked by my family, you know, and kind of it's yeah, it's great. And it's already dog-eared because my eldest daughter, that's almost vegan, has adapted loads of the recipes to suit her. So it's you know, I hope that if any of you do get the chance to have a look at it, that you enjoy it. So
that's amazing, Carmela. That looks so delicious. You're making us all so hungry. So your book, who is publishing it, and where is it available from?
Yeah, so it's published by littlebrown.co.uk. It's available. My books are very hit and miss, unfortunately. So obviously they're available online everywhere. You try and find any of mine in shops. It's always a bit of a tricky one. Obviously, A Passion for Pasta was my second book. This one here, Southern Italian Family Cooking, is the sister now that goes with this one here. So they're all by the same publishing house. So they're all available online. Should be available in bookshops, but I always have a challenge unless I'm in London to find them. To be honest with you, so online would probably be your best bet. And then I've obviously got a Kindle, online book as well. But yeah.
So the Southern Italian, you mentioned Cucina Povera, that really focuses on that, doesn't it?
Yeah, so in here, this is all, these are all recipes that I grew up with. These are things, you know, eels at Christmas, you know, and their stories. And I think that's what I love. I love, you know, the understanding, you know, as a little girl, I used to go to Nonna's house, and she'd say to me, don't go in the bathroom. Well, the bathroom was where the toilet was, so so you'd go in and there's eels swimming in the bath, and it's kind of these things that you just remember, and as a child you'd be freaked out. As an adult, I'm just so excited by it now. So these are all recipes that are what I grew up with, that are very cucina povera. It's a very kind of wholesome, basic, frugal. And then obviously the north of Italy is completely different, isn't it? The north is opulent. There's money, there's money, there's work, there's wealth, there's butter, there's cream, there's gnocchi, there's rice, there's limited pasta. But I've basically written this book, and I've kind of hit it with my chart, my kind of versions of cucina povera cooking. So I'll offer advice and tips all the way through it. So if there's something, a particular ingredient, there'll be an alternative, because the last thing you want is people having to go searching for things, which isn't something that I like to do. But this book, it talks about Tomino cheese baked with speck. Tomino cheese is a cheese from Piemonte, which is just incredible, and it's like a camembert. I layer it with basil, wrap it with speck, or you can use parma ham, and you bake it for about 7 to 8 minutes, and until it pops. You just want it with bread. And you can get those in. There's sorbet, there's alcoholic drinks, there's non-alcoholic drinks. Veal, I put meatloaf, but it's called pettone, which is one of my auntie's recipes that's got boiled eggs all the way through it. There's agnolotti with hazelnuts, chestnuts. This book is broken down into the seasons, because what I was trying to do is kind of focus on the UK, and our seasonality here, which is how I cook, and I'm sure that's how everybody cooks. So at the minute, we're using what's in the garden. I'm picking a load of cavolo nero later. That's one thing I've managed to grow, and courgettes this year. So it's about using what we have in the UK that fits in, with the season. So the book is completely seasonal, adjusted to the Italian table. So that's what I've done. There's prosecco and strawberry risotto. So that's obviously in the summer. You've got a Barolo risotto, which is the heavy red wine risotto. That's gone into autumn. There's rulla, there's passatelli, which is a fantastic pasta, which is extruded again through a press that's made with bread and parmesan. So it's completely squid ink risotto, barley soups, gone into spring, zuppa pavese. So it's basically me in a book, and it's so nice because most of what I cook is literally out of my books, which is how I cook. And I think I'm very passionate with how I teach, with how I write, and how I hopefully come across and show that it costs peanuts. It costs peanuts to cook awesome Italian food. Sometimes you need the basics of 4 or 5 ingredients, whether it's a beautiful joint of meat, some veal, some lovely fresh vegetables, packet of pasta, dry pasta. You can cook anything, and that's kind of what I try and teach through my book. So and the fourth one, is inspired by my nonna, who's 91, and is dedicated to her as well. So I'm going over tomorrow to actually give her her book, and hopefully get a smile out of her with her holding it, looking at it, going, "Ma che è questo?" She'll say in Italian, "What is this? What have you done now?" So so I'm happy. So thank you so much for supporting me as well. I've been a member of the guild for 3 years, and I'm one of the shy members, believe it or not.
Oh, it's amazing, Carmela, and you really have that book feels so relevant for this time as well, doesn't it? Just great, achievable recipes using simple ingredients, and we wish you every success with it. And also, you have a moment hopefully to treasure taking that book to your grandmother tomorrow. I think, when sharing a book when it comes into the world, it's just one of the great joys of food writing, I think, isn't it, for anyone?
Yeah,
it really is those moments that make it all So special. And thank you, Carmela, for putting on this demonstration.
So welcome. I hope everyone's enjoyed it.
It's been absolutely fantastic.
Thank you, Nico.
I wonder if we might just trouble you for another minute or two.
Oh,
and
no, I'm
you
not going
might
anywhere.
show us your room quickly.
Oh,
Maybe we could have a little,
I'm
I'd love
gonna
to know about your boards on the wall.
Okay. So, should I take my phone? I don't know. I don't want to lose you if I unclip. Oopa. Right, is everyone still there?
Yes.
So let's have a look. So these are all. So during lockdown, my husband's made me kind of all these plaques that go on the walls with all the stamps. So these are all my stamps. So these here are all corsetti presses. So let's see which ones are. I'll show you which ones are my favourite ones. So these are from Liguria. And they're stamps that make pasta. This one here is an octopus. So octopus are my favourite sea creatures, and they're coins. They're basically, so you make pasta and you press pasta on top. And they are, years ago, these would be made with the family coat of arms on them, from Liguria. But if you're interested in pasta and I've had a tomato. There's a tomato. I'm trying to find the one of Puglia to show you. But these are fantastic, and you would serve these with either a simple pesto. This here is the coat of arms of Puglia, which is yeah, I must get my I know that a coat of arms. I love it. I love the whole idea. You can buy incredibly basic ones on Amazon, but I support Filippo Romagnoli in Tuscany, who has made them. Was taught by his father. I've obviously got lots of stamps, and over here, these are, let's have a look, I don't know, a bit awful as a cameraman, as you can see. So these are gnocchi boards. So these are gnocchi boards. These are some that I've had custom made. This one here is a Caravaggio board. This is one from Emilia Romagna. This one here is my cheapest board that cost me €25, and it's my most favourite board, my most treasured board. These ones are from Amazon. These ones here are all handmade. This is a company in Scotland that made me one. He's moved to France now, but will still make boards. This lovely guy, can't remember his name now, made me this one in America. Bill Anderson. There you go. Oregon, USA. Bill Anderson. So I kind of support lots of people that make handmade tools. Obviously, I'm incredibly lucky. I'm sponsored by Mercato. As a pastaia, which is truly fantastic. I'm a big ambassador for them, and these are all my tools, all my cutters. And obviously, I have more up there. So this is the pasta room, and then obviously here are some of my ingredients that are all here. And then this is what used to be. This what used to be the library as my reading room, which has now just become my little den. So this is my room with a view, as it was. So these are Macarino bottles that used to have pop in them and tea and what have you, and ginotto. And I use these to make pasta. So I use these to make little hats. And then the little skewers, we make pasta al ferro, like a fusilli. Lots of different types of macaroni. I've got lots of things here. I've got all types of extruders, and then these are more kind of wires and things that I use here. So I'm a very experimental pastaia. I use graters. I use all sorts to. I'm going to try and fit you back in without turning you off.
That's amazing.
To make
what a special place.
Yeah, so it's good fun, and it's a really great way to teach, so when students come here, the last thing I do is say you need to leave and you need to buy this and this. Ultimately you need a wooden board, which is the best surface to make pasta, a rolling pin. If you can get a pasta machine, you buy the brand that you can afford. I'll advise you, but you buy what you can afford. And a sushi mat. Sushi mats are fantastic for a number of reasons, of making garganelli, of forming pasta. So all of these here are brilliant, but a sushi mat does that job. You can pick one of those up from Waitrose for £1.30, I think. So you know, so there's no you know, need to spend a fortune until you become obsessed, and then that's it. You know, so
Fantastic. That's amazing. I don't know if anyone has any questions they'd like to ask. Claire is asking how often you'd go to Italy before lockdown, and which area would you visit?
I go to Italy about 4 times a year. So I tend to go at Easter with my family here, my children and my husband. And then I tend to go 3 times with work, or maybe once in the middle I'll go and visit family. I don't know, I really love the south of Italy, but equally, I've not been to the Dolomites yet, and I'm quite desperate to kind of go to that little umbrella up in the north. I love Emilia Romagna, so I love Bologna as a city, but I love Romagna, and actually I start teaching. I should have been teaching.
Carmela, I've lost the sound. Can everyone else hear?
No.
Oh,
No, sorry,
God.
we just lost you, I think.
Okay.
So you were saying about Bologna and then it cut out. I don't know how far
So,
everyone else heard.
Bologna is probably one of my favourite cities, and I love Venice. I do. I've got quite a special fondness for Venice. I've worked there quite a bit. But Romagna, so Emilia Romagna, you split the 2 regions in half. Romagna has got its own legs. It's fantastic. It's got its own traditions and cheeses and pastas. So I love Romagna as well. But in terms of where do I love to go, I love Liguria. I love Sicily. You know, I love Puglia, and I like Molise. Molise is quite rough. Rough in terms of rugged, not rough, rugged, but in its terrain. It's but you know, equally it's fantastic. But I love Italy, full stop. So and one of my favourites is Naples. Yeah, Naples was always the first time I ever visited Naples. This lady on one of the buses, she just got hold of me and she went, I don't know how you say it in English, li soldi ambiente, she said, you know, put your money in your bra, put your money in your, you know, and that's just how my nonna would speak to me, li soldi ambiente, you know, so it's everywhere's different, but I love the south. I love the south. I'm a real Neapolitan, really, I think, by heart, so I speak very, my dad always says I speak like a Camboisian, quite a rough rustic, so it's kind of a Cockney, you know, from the city. I'm the same in the south of Italy, so I think that's where I feel more comfortable.
Amazing, amazing, Carmela. Does anyone have any other questions at all? I have to say, I'm just thinking about lunch now.
I know. Very happy children.
Lucky children.
Absolutely.
How fortunate.
So it's good. Thank you so much, Charlotte.
It's a pleasure. I'm assuming no one has any questions. Can't see anything. Do put your sound on, unmute yourself if there's anything you'd like to ask Carmela. And we wish you all the best with your book launch as well. Do make sure you share the details with us and we'll put it on the Guild's Twitter and what have you. And yeah, because we're really keen to support anyone who's having a book out at the moment, because it's, you know, it is tricky, isn't it? And you know, we'll do as much as we can. Haven't heard anything from anyone, so I think we'll wrap it up. Oh, do you make and eat pasta every day?
I used to eat it every day. I don't make it every day. I used to eat it most days, but as you get older, I've got to cut it down. No, so I probably eat pasta now maybe 3 times a week.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, when it's good.
Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic. Well, Carmela, thanks a million for your time. It's been an absolute joy. I feel like I've popped over to Italy this morning for an hour, and you've given us some lovely ideas there. The recipe you've made available for us, haven't you?
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
Hopefully
if anyone's got questions, you know, by all means get in touch. So
Amazing. Well, best of luck with everything.
Thank you.
And thanks a million for your time and such a lovely demonstration.
Thank you. Bye all.
Thanks everyone for joining. Take care. Bye for now. Bye. Thanks, Carmela. Bye.
Thank you.